What's your career field and how did you get started?
I own a publication on Texas politics and government. It's the oldest publication of its kind in Texas, and got involved in 1989. I started doing some freelance writing for this publication after a business I had went belly up, and I ended up uh, being good at it and buying the publication and putting it online.
So it's just something you decided to get into, like,
A friend of mine had bought the publication out of bankruptcy back in the 80s when the economy had crashed and burned. And he knew I was doing some freelance writing after my business failed. So he called up and we made a deal. And I started doing freelance writing uh, on his behalf. And then 10 years later, I bought it from him.
and what's the most toughest challenge you had in your life?
Toughest challenge of my life, my
Yeah.
wife dying on her birthday unexpectedly in 2017. Went into a fetal position for 2 years after that.
And how are you upholding now ever since that happened?
But that was in 2017. It was 2 years of, I'll just say, grieving and darkness. And then as I was coming out of that, we rolled right into COVID.
Yes,
It was
sir.
another 2 years. And so my real recovery started about a year and a half ago when I we had developed a second two businesses. I sold the one that was not as much fun, and I've started traveling, and I still own the publication. I'm just not. I don't work on it day to day. I have
What,
people that work for me.
what was the other business again?
I was the largest vendor of flags and flagpoles in Central Texas. It was Austin Flag and Flagpole. My family has the largest Houston-based based flag and flagpole company, and it's called Kronberg's Flags and Flagpoles.
And you started that company yourself?
I started the Austin branch. The first thing I did after I went belly up was go to work for the family,
Yes, sir.
but I swore I'd never, well, let's just say I told my dad that I loved him way too much to keep working for him. And so
Went separate ways?
I'm sorry?
I said, did y'all go y'all separate ways?
Well, I just spun off my business from theirs with everybody's permission.
Oh, okay.
And my brother runs the much bigger version here in Houston, and I had a little spin off in Austin. So we started doing that, and then the economy crashed again, and
What year was that when the economy crashed?
87.
87.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So this was all like in the late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah, the big event. 1981, interest rates went to 19%, which people are complaining now when they're 7 and 8%. 19 is a real business killer.
Yes, sir.
And so that started the progress of my business failure. Ultimately, I couldn't extricate myself from that. Then my fallback was to work for the family for a little while. And I started with the family in 86 and 87. The economy crashed again, but much worse this time, and much more Texas specific this time. Oil went from $43 a barrel to $8 a barrel in less than a year, and the economy in Texas was almost all oil and gas based at that time. So I had started the flag and flagpole business. We were growing, blowing and going, and then we hit a wall, and but I didn't owe anything, so we didn't have to close the business. And
Okay, let's go back, not to cut you off. So you started the flagpole business. What year was that?
86.
86.
And then the crash started in 87.
And the crash started in 1987.
And I went to work for the publication in 89 and bought it in 98.
So you bought your company back in 1988?
Oh, no, I bought the flagpole business. We never closed. We just we went on low gear.
Oh, okay.
And my wife got another job. I got another job, and we just kind of held the flagpole business together. In 1991, the economy started recovering, and we made it we essentially reopened it as a full-time business. And she quit her job, and I was splitting my time between the flagpole business and the political publication.
How was y'all getting y'all customers at the time?
Well, the flagpole business, when we started, there was something called the Yellow Pages,
Yes,
and
sir.
we had the biggest ad in Yellow Pages, um, which made us look like we were the most professional and the biggest in town. And we by '93 we were the biggest in town. But that was the original way to recruit customers, and my family's name is pretty well known in the flagpole business. So construction superintendents, construction companies that were headquartered in Houston but did business in Austin would default to us. And then we did a couple of trade shows. Our biggest customers were home builders, and what happened was there would be a job superintendent or somebody working for one home builder. They'd go work for another home builder, and they would bring their vendors with them. And so we pretty much owned the Central Texas market in flags and flagpoles till about 2010, when Austin got big enough that competition started to surface.
You mentioned earlier that you didn't owe anything on the business. So you mean to
Right.
tell me like you didn't go into debt for this business, the flagpole business?
Well, it was debt that put us out of the business in 1981, 82, 83.
Yes, sir.
And so we swore we would never buy anything that we didn't know that we could pay for in 2 weeks, and instead of 30 days. And we stuck with it, and had a couple of really big jobs that allowed us to start buying flagpoles by the truckload, which got us really deep discounts, which made it even easier to pay our bills in 10 days. But no, we never had any serious debt in the flagpole business.
So you started the business in 1986 and you sold it in 2022. So 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And what was it worth back in 2022 when you sold it?
The business itself was worth about $500,000, but the land underneath it, I owned 3 acres of land.
Yes, sir.
That is where the business was. And it was, when we moved out there in 1994, it was open fields, and in 2022 it was a major thoroughfare. And so I sold the land for probably 15 times what I paid for it in 1994. And it's a idiosyncrasy, but when your spouse dies, if whatever property you own together,
Yes, sir.
Gets marked, the value gets marked as of the day they pass away. So
Wow.
she had died in 2017, so the value of the land was predicated on 2017 prices, not what I paid for it in 1994. So the taxes were pretty minimal. You pay taxes on the profit, and when the cost base was 2017 prices, it was not quite as dramatic as looking at how much more it was from 1994.
If you think you hadn't sold your company back in 2022, what do you think it'll be worth right now?
Well, there's 2 ways to value. If it with the same situation, probably 20% more. Business is coming. Construction is beginning to come back to life. There was a post-COVID lull. Interest rates slowed construction down, slowed down the businesses of our primary customer base.
Yes, sir.
But it's pretty much coming back now. The person who bought it, I have no idea how well they're doing. Every now and then they call and ask a question, a technical question or a business question related to that particular business. But the economy in Austin is not growing nearly as fast as it was 5 years ago, but it's still growing.
It's growing right now.
Yeah, well, it's mostly the surrounding cities now: Kyle, Buda, Georgetown, San Marcos. Austin is kind of built as much as they can build inside the city limits.
So you don't think downtown Austin growing at all, or just
inside
Austin?
They've got well over 1 million square feet of vacant office space downtown Austin, and they're still building. You can't stop once you start. So I think in the region there's a lot of business.
Yes, sir.
I don't know in Austin specifically. There's still, the University of Texas is building buildings, but our big deal was property management companies, apartment complexes, home builders, and most of that energy has moved outside the city limits of Austin, um, which kind of creates a affordability problem inside the city because there's a finite number of houses. There's not a whole lot of new home building going on inside,
Yes, sir.
and supply is not big enough for demand.
After you sold your company in 2022, how did you move on? Like, what did you do? Did you just fully retire,
Oh
or?
no, I still write columns for my political publication, and I still manage the back end of the website. We were the first to go online and actually in the country doing political coverage, and so I'm a part time CEO essentially and columnist, um, and I probably will continue owning the publication for another couple of years, and then pass it on to probably my editor, the guy who is actually doing most of the work these days.
We got 1 minute left. What some advice would you give to a younger person like myself? I'm currently 25, or anybody that want to start a business in 2025.
I think you need to do something that you enjoy because then it's not work, and you just never give up. And you have to keep learning and find mentors both in that business and just financial mentors, because that's what makes all the difference, is having somebody older and wiser telling you the pitfalls to avoid.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for the advice, Harvey.
My pleasure.